There's a tool I've developed that I call Trust the Process. And this is the ultimate tool for getting yourself out of a funk, for getting yourself out of a low emotional and mental state. So when you're feeling anxious and depressed, or when you're feeling just super unmotivated, right? You just kind of can't get momentum going. And this is often also the case when you're like stressed out, when you're just not doing well, when you're falling into various addiction spirals. This tool, Trust the Process, this is the best way to get out. This is a super important principle. So this will be a 3-part series. And in this first part, let me just give you an example of like what my process looks like and how I apply the Trust the Process tool. To explain what it is, let me give you a very specific example. For me, exercise, moving my body, is something that reliably helps me feel better, and it reliably helps me basically maintain a positive state. It helps me maintain a state of essentially where I feel generally good, where I'm functioning, where I'm more motivated, where I just have momentum in my life. Even more specifically, I know that if I hit some pads or work a heavy bag, that is another one of those things that's physical exercise, but also, especially when I'm like frustrated or stressed or something like that, I know that makes me feel better. Exercising regularly for me is really important. If I stop doing it, I know that my motivation and my mental state will tank within a few weeks, if not sooner. And on the flip side of that, exercise is also one of the best ways for me to get myself out of a negative state. And this is what makes it part of my process. And here's why it's important to have this realization and to use Trust the Process as a tool. When you're having a bad day, when you're depressed, when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, when you're just super unmotivated, when you got really bad news, right, and just like stressed, things are not going your way, like life happens, right? That is exactly when you don't want to exercise. That is exactly when you're most likely to make excuses and be like, instead of going to the gym right now, I'd rather just like eat a tub of ice cream. Look, I have these moments too. That is part of being human. And what I very specifically do in these moments is I literally tell myself, trust the process, and I go to the gym. I will tell myself, hold on, I'm in a negative state right now. I'm kind of in a downward spiral. Trust the process. Even if I don't feel like it, go to the gym, hit a heavy bag. So you can think of the phrase, trust the process, as the trigger phrase that activates discipline in the moments when you lack discipline the most and when you need it the most. Exercise is not the only part of my process. Here are some other parts of it. One of them is sleep. Like I know that when I'm lying awake at night, if I have the temptation to like scroll through my phone or get up and watch a show or something like that, right? Basically, I don't want to go to sleep, which is again common when I'm in a negative state. I feel like I don't want to sleep or I can't sleep or whatever. And I have that temptation to stay up and consume stuff. And again, I tell myself, trust the process. I know that if I go to bed late, if I look at screens all night, then I have trouble sleeping. I'll either sleep in really late or I'll wake up at my usual time and not have had enough sleep. And I'll basically feel like crap and it ruins my whole day. I know that. And the way I activate, this is a reminder. I go, hold on, trust the process. If I want to feel better tomorrow and next week, go to bed, put the phone down, go to bed, trust the process. Another big one for me is writing, especially writing in the evening. When I'm working through difficult stuff, I just know if I sit down in the evening before I go to bed and I just start writing and I write everything that's on my mind. I call this a brain dump, right? You just dump everything that's in your brain onto the page. And I can write about anything. I can express my frustrations. I can write what I'm confused about. I can write thoughts about what's happening. I can basically be like strategic about it. What's happening? What should I do? What are possible solutions? But I can also just express. I can express onto the page. It doesn't have to be solution oriented at all. It can just be like, here's all the stuff that's pissing me off. And I know that when I do that, I sleep better. I feel better the next day. I know that if I do that consistently every day for a week, I'll feel 100 times better, even if right now I feel like crap and I don't want to do that. So those are some of the cornerstones of my process. Go to bed on time, get out of bed on time, get outside, get some sunlight, maybe move my body a little bit in the morning in the sun. Make sure that I go to the gym, that I work my body and maybe do some martial arts practice at least once every day. Make sure I do some creative work. I always feel better when I've created something and I publish a video or I publish something, I get something done. That always makes me feel better. And write in the evening, spend time just writing about everything that is on my mind. This is part of the process, and I know from experience that when I do these things, if I check off these boxes essentially every day, that I can go from a terrible state to a really positive state, often in a matter of days. But even if I'm in a really bad funk, I just know that if I follow this process, I will maintain a higher level of functioning. I will maintain a higher level of mental clarity. And this discipline will eventually beget motivation. Trust the process is the key phrase that I tell myself as a reminder of that. Because again, the thing is, when you need this stuff the most is when you least want to do it. It's when you most want to do other stuff and you just want to distract yourself, give into your cravings and your addictions and all that. And that's exactly when you need this reminder. Now, here's a bonus tip. I like to use an app. I like to use the Streaks app. And there's many other apps like habit tracking apps like this, but I like to use the Streaks app for this. I can have a page with my key components of the process. And I just know if I manage to check off each one of these components every day, I know that I'm on the right track and that I'm going to feel a lot better very soon. So that's the principle of trust the process. Now, right now, you can already think about what are the things that you know reliably get you into a better state and reliably get you out of a funk. You probably already know a bunch of these from your own experience. In the next part, I'll talk about the second component to trusting the process that is also really important. And in the third part, I'll talk about how you can come up and design and refine your own process over time. And for now, you understand what it is, and you can start with a first version of this. It's not going to be perfect, but right now you can ask yourself, what are some of the key components for your process? What is something that you can anchor to the phrase, trust the process, to reliably generate better mental states and get yourself out of a funk? So right now, leave a comment below with what you think are some of the main components of your process. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to make sure that you see the next parts. Check out the first link in the description to join the Quit by Healing community and watch this video next.